I suppose it's like the glaciers. You take a look at a glacier and it's encroaching, slowly but surely it's going someplace. And lo and behold, my intestines were going someplace. And I actually had, I guess you call it a shelf on top of my gut here. I could put my teacup on there. And it was growing, and occasionally there were pains, like, I'd feel like I had, you know how you got cramp in your spleen or something like that? It's sort of like that. Anyhow, I mentioned it, and the doctor said, well, go see the surgeon. He knows more about this than I do, so I went and saw him. He says, well, go get a scan done. So I did the scan, and the guy said, yeah, you've got a hernia there, and it looks like it's going to get bigger. It's not going to get smaller. So he said, I can operate on you anytime. But I was still working there, and I didn't fancy the idea of in my latter years of life, stopping work and then going back to work and having to go through recovering and that. So I didn't do anything about that until I was retired. But retired, finally, I decided to go for it, and that's what I did. It was convenient because they just opened me up on the same line that was already there. They didn't have to make a new line. They just had to. They just cut me open on the old line that was there, and they did the job. And the
How
next.
long were you under anesthetic?
Yeah, I really lost track. It was. They operated on me late afternoon, and the next thing I knew was I was surrounded by family, and it was early evening, so it was more confusing than last time, but it was weird. The team that was working on me, they almost were like a comedy team, they were joking and that back and forth, and the next thing I knew, I was in my room a few hours later, you see.
How did you get the hernia?
Well, that was in the States when I was working there, and I just didn't respect my body, and I'd been operated on for my ulcer, and went straight basically from the operating room back to working in the fur industry, and I popped some stuff I shouldn't have done, and my intestines started to come out. So. It was brewing for almost 20 years.
How did it feel when they started coming out? Did you know something was going wrong?
Well, I could push them back in, play around. There were one lump here, there's another lump there, and I could play. They were sort of like pillows, I push them in. That's freeze gel or whatever that you can't use to keep your stuff cold in the cooler when it's thawed out and you squeeze it. That's almost how it felt, It was entertaining. I'd play with my hernia,
Was it?
I grossed my wife out of that doing it, but it wasn't painful.
Was it scary?
No, I thought it was kind of gross too, but what the hell? It was entertaining, some people fidget, some people pick their nose. I was pushing in my belly,
Could you roll over on your belly and lie on your belly?
Yeah, I could, but I'd feel sort of I'd feel squished, like when somebody hugs you too tightly or that. That kind of a feeling. But my regular doctor, he says, if it's not bothering you, leave it. He says, if it starts to bother you, he says, get it fixed. And he says, if something actually starts to come out, he says, you don't walk to the hospital, you run to the hospital, So, I guess that's playing with a time bomb, and it was growing. The guy, the surgeon, he sent me for another scan. This was a couple of years after the first scan, and he noticed that there definitely was, like I said, the glacier advancing. There had been a little bit of encroachment there, so he said, yeah, it's time. So that's what I did.
Okay.
It wasn't an emergency; it was planned for, and I went in at the time that they called for me.
Okay. So the story of your blood pressure.
Oh well, blood pressure. I always thought that was invisible.